Here's a good question. Where am I? And what in the world am I doing? You'll find out next on First Century Foundations. Welcome back to the show. Today, we are going to be back in the city of David, and I'm excited about this. We're going to be looking at a period of history where Hezekiah was king of Judah, somewhere around 700 years before the time of Jesus. And King Hezekiah was one of the last righteous kings to lead the tribes of Judah. The story is amazing. Sennacherib attacks. King Hezekiah has to figure out a way to protect the water source, and today we're actually going to walk through the tunnels that were dug in order for them to defend against this invading army. It's going to be exciting. We want you to stay with us. We're also going to visit with Baruch Lieberman, who gives leadership to the King of Kings Distribution Center. And this center helps poor people in Jerusalem to have the basic things that they need, about 6 months worth of provision, so that they can make it to sort of the next step when they face emergency or they face struggle. So don't go away. We're going to be back with that and more in just a moment.
Stay tuned. Coming up after the break, Jeff visits the ancient ruins of the city of David. First Century Foundations is continuing to bless the land of Israel. And this is all possible because of people like you. With your help, we have been able to support local ministries within Israel who are caring for some of the nation's most needy by providing food and clothing for the poor, and much more. The House of Light is one such ministry that not only ministers in prisons, but also runs a summer camp for children.
We're in the middle of this camp and all the noise of the children around us, rejoicing in the Lord and in your help, and we just want to say thank you.
This is all possible because of your prayers and support. Call or write today and become a monthly partner for just $30 a month or more. And be sure to ask for your free Israel Prayer Watch so you can be up to date on all that is happening with these ministries in the Holy Land. We are waiting to hear from you.
Last time on First Century Foundations, AnaRina Heymann of the City of David gave me a tour of some of the oldest ruins of ancient Jerusalem. Today, we continue the tour, and AnaRina shows me the water cistern from the time of King David himself.
So we've entered kind of a great big room here with a huge hole down below us. What are we seeing here?
Jeff, this was a pool. It was filled with water in the time of King David. You can see that was the entrance where the water came in.
Yes.
Why don't we see any water right now? Because Hezekiah rerouted the water in his time. But in the time of Solomon, King David, this was the pool where the Gihon Spring, where the waters from the Gihon Spring came.
Okay.
And the story is that all the kings of Judah had to be anointed at a spring, because the spring represents continuity. And it represents the Torah, the Word of God, giving life. And that's why we had to bring the kings here. And the whole story of Solomon, where his brother Adoniah decided that he wants to be king, and he was getting himself a priest and a prophet, and they were getting a ceremony going. And Bathsheba and Nathan the prophet said, let's go to David, let's just tell him that this is happening.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he said, take Solomon right now to the Gihon Spring and anoint him there. So they took Nathan and Zadok the priest, and they came to anoint him here. All the kings of Judah were anointed here. This, where you're standing right now, is the place of anointing. Why did the kings, we also hear in Isaiah, where it says, you will draw water with joy from the springs of salvation. Now we will get to the water with joy a little bit later on, but why from the springs of salvation? because the king brings salvation to his people. And that's why he was anointed at a water source. And that's why it's called the Springs of Salvation.
Wow. So that whole idea of life, living water.
Living
right?
water,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, amazing. This right here, somewhere right here, the place where King Solomon was anointed. You want to check that out? I think you should.
The city of David is absolutely amazing. Everywhere you turn, you are encountering the Bible. So far, I've been completely amazed at everything I've seen, but where AnaRina takes me next has me a little nervous.
Okay, well, we're down here at the entrance to Hezekiah's tunnel. This is the part where you walk through and get a little bit wet. We've got a group in the background here, so we've got a little bit of background noise. Don't worry about it. It's all good. But, AnaRina, I'm going to be okay here, right?
Jeff, yeah, just we have a few crocodiles in there, but you will be fine. No crocodiles, only camels.
You're not sounding very convincing. It's going to be okay?
You're going to be fine.
Okay.
Good luck, Jeff.
Why do I need good luck?
You'll find out soon.
This is the actual tunnel that King Hezekiah had constructed that we read about in 2 Kings chapter 20 and 2 Chronicles chapter 32. And I can't believe that I am actually walking through this 2,700-year-old tunnel.
Okay, this is cool. Literally, I mean that. It's chilly.
King Hezekiah ordered that this tunnel be dug when the Assyrian king Sennacherib was on his way to lay siege to Jerusalem during his conquest of Judah. This tunnel very well could have been what saved the city. The Bible tells us that Sennacherib returned defeated and was killed by his own people.
So I'm just noticing all the twists and turns in this tunnel. I was thinking it was straight and they managed to meet in the middle, but no, this thing snakes through the mountain like unbelievable.
The construction of this tunnel would have been a huge undertaking. And consider this, they did it without all of the technology and tools that we have today. Unbelievable.
Oh man, check out the marks in the wall here, the way that this has been chiseled out. It's absolutely incredible. And the work was done well over 2,700 years ago. Look at that. Incredible. See here? Wow, that's crazy. All right, let's go.
I can't help but wonder how the workers who dug this must have felt, chiseling out this tunnel inch by inch with an enemy approaching, and how amazing it was for them to have completed this at the end. Truly breathtaking.
Oh, okay. I did it. Now I just need to dry off, and we'll catch up with AnaRina. Let's go. Okay, we're out of the tunnel, Hezekiah's tunnel, AnaRina. It wasn't nearly as bad as you made it out to be. I was a little nervous, I'm not going to lie.
How did you feel?
Good. Wet, but good. Yeah. So tell me about the tunnel story. It's so amazing. How it was dug and all of that. You're going to explain all the details to us, right?
I'm going to try. Let's see how far we get.
Okay.
The whole thing about Hezekiah is also very special. He was one of the last righteous kings that brought a massive reform into the city. He put the Levites back into their place. He basically brought the people back to the temple service.
Right.
And imagine fighting a nation to bring them really back to what God wants.
Yeah.
And then it says, after all these amazing things, all these righteous things that Hezekiah did, God sent his worst enemy against him, the king of Assyria, Sennacherib. And you would go, what is that the thank you that I get for all of this?
Right.
And you would ask, why did God actually do that? And when we look at all these things, Hezekiah also saw that this whole army is approaching. So he also had to do more things to keep the people safe. All the refugees were streaming down from the north. We're talking about the 10 tribes being exiled.
Okay.
So most of them being exiled to different countries, but the refugees coming down. And he has to keep them safe. So he basically built a bigger wall around Jerusalem, enlarging Jerusalem to be able to keep these people safe.
Okay.
The second thing is, he says, why should the kings of Assyria come and find water here?
Right.
So they blocked up all the water springs that basically flowed into the agricultural areas. And he took the water source, the Gihon Spring, and he redirected it underneath the city of David. And that was a massive feat, because even in the times of the Romans, you would go, how did they do that? But this was even before that.
Yeah.
533 meters with only a 30 centimeter decline. So up till today, we have no idea how that actually happened. But we know that there was one group from this side and a group from the other side, from the Siloam pool, digging towards each other. And we can read that even they were under a lot of stress, because there is this plaque that we found at the place where they met. And you can read the story there, where they said the one group access to this side, trying to get to each other, and then they started to hear each other from one side to the other.
That's incredible.
And the joy when the water started to flow through this tunnel.
Yeah.
So this is Hezekiah doing everything in his power to be ready for this king of Assyria coming. And then he goes to Isaiah and he says, now, I've done everything. These people are now on our borders. They are about to besiege the city. You go and you intercede for us and ask God what to do next.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what Isaiah did. And he comes back and he says, this is what the Lord of hosts says. Not even an arrow will touch this place. Now, Jeff, when we're doing the excavations, we can see the destruction everywhere. We can see the destruction, the Roman destruction. We see basically an ash layer of the Roman destruction. When we go down a little bit more, we find another ash layer where we see the Babylonian destruction.
Yes.
But we couldn't find any Assyrian arrows, because exactly like God said, not one of the Assyrian arrows touched Jerusalem. In fact, the next morning they woke up and they saw that the whole Assyrian army is either dead or gone. Most of the people went back to Assyria, except for those who died. So God basically divinely intervened. And this is what happened. God had to wait for Hezekiah to bring the people underneath his will again, because that's where he could protect them. And after that, he could divinely intercede. So we have to do whatever we can, build walls, build tunnels, but at the end, God comes. He takes the final step. He puts that divine intervention, and he saves the city.
Wow. Thank you so much. And you know, we've read that Bible story. You understand now more about really what was happening here. The incredible feat. To me, every time I read that inscription, it just boggles my mind that without the technology, even of the Roman age, that they were able to meet. How many meters was the tunnel?
533 meters.
533 meters dug through solid rock, and somehow two groups coming from opposite ends met exactly in the middle. Unbelievable.
Amazing.
That's our God, right? That's our God. And what a story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us today.
Thank you, Jeff.
Coming up after the break, Jeff visits Baruch Lieberman of the King of Kings Distribution Center. Jerusalem, the holy city, is the focus of much of the world's attention. And Psalm 122 tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Yet do we really know why, or even how? Why does God want us to specifically pray for the peace of this ancient city? And how do you pray for a city that for most of us seems so foreign and so far away? Praying for the Peace of Jerusalem, the new book by Jeff Futers, now reveals God's purpose for the holy city and all of Israel, and why he wants every believer to pray for his holy land. Now more than ever, the people of Israel need our prayers and support. And when you order your copy of the book Praying for the Peace of Jerusalem for just $10 plus shipping and handling, you are also helping these precious people in a very real way. Call the number on your screen now or go online to firstcenturyfoundations.com and order Praying for the Peace of Jerusalem and begin to pray for Israel with understanding and purpose.
Hi, I'm here at King of Kings Distribution Center in Jerusalem with Baruch Lieberman. And Baruch, you are going to tell us a little bit about the ministry here, about how it got started, because this is a fairly new thing in the last couple of years, and what exactly it is that you do here.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, we started this ministry about 2.5 years ago. And the idea was to help families in crisis, because sometimes, unfortunately, families have crisis. For example, somebody was fired, or somebody had some illness, or different circumstances. Sure. And then they really struggle, and some of them can go out of this, but they need some period of grace, right, not to think about basic needs. So we thought about accepting families, for adopting them for at least half a year, okay, and providing them with the main groceries. For example, we give them 1 bag of dry goods. We give them about 4 kilograms of meat and some toiletries. People come to us twice a month if this is a small family. And they come 4 times a month if they have 4 or more children. Okay. And this way, when they don't need to think about basic needs for about half a year. They only need to buy some additional fruit or vegetables or a few other things, but they don't need to think about main groceries. So this was the idea. And also we give them second-hand clothes and shoes, or whatever other stuff which people donate to us.
And that's some of what we're seeing right behind us here.
Some of this we see here, and there are more in the storage. Okay,
great. Now, you don't only do this for people in the congregation.
Yeah.
You do it for others as well.
Yes, that's true.
And how do you get those leads? How do you find out who needs the materials?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are much more needy people in Jerusalem than we can help. Yeah. So how do we do the selection? We know that there are people who know these families, and these people are social workers or leaders of organizations, humanitarian organizations that have been helping them for years. Right. They know these families, sometimes even they know few generations of families. So we started cooperating with the Jerusalem municipality, with the top social worker, and through the top social worker, and also with few other smaller organizations that also help the really needy of the needy, and they know how to select them and whom to send to us.
Very good. Now, I think that's key that we understand that, you know, these are believers. They're not just helping other believers, they're helping people in their community who are in need. It doesn't matter if they're secular, or if they're observant, or if they're Orthodox. You're reaching out to all of those families through leads that you're getting from the municipality of Jerusalem. Yeah.
Even more, I would say that we have less than 10% of believers as our clients. Okay. And there are totally different people who come to us. For example, not only Jewish people, but Arabs. And not only citizens, but for example, refugees from Eritrea or places like this. Okay. So we are open for everybody who has real deep need.
That's great. That's great. Let's look at some of the food that you hand out, and some of the materials that you give out. Is that okay?
Yeah, let me show you.
Okay, so we're here now kind of in your storage area. This is where you store all of the goods that you give out. Tell us what it is you're helping these families with.
Here you see a sample of the dry bags that we give to families. For example, I can untie one, and you can see, like here there is oil, there is tea, there are some canned goods, and people really appreciate it, and these are things that they use day by day. So we give them the dry goods, we give them a meat, as I said, and if you want, I can show you in the refrigerator. For example, here we have chicken and ground beef, and in the other one we have chicken's legs and hamburgers. As you see, we also have some toiletries. People can choose 3 to 5 items which they can use for everyday needs.
Fantastic. Well, Baruch, thank you for sharing with us about the ministry here at the distribution center.
You're welcome.
You mentioned that you used to be able to do a little bit more, but you've had to slow down a little bit. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Actually, we can take many more families. We have capacity, we have abilities, but unfortunately we don't have enough finances.
Right.
So we used to have before like 80 families, even 85 families. Then we needed to slow down to 65 families. And even this, we didn't have enough donations. So just in the middle of the program, when fortunately we needed to turn people down and say, look, don't come this month, or when you come next month, only half of you can come, and then another half of you can come.
Oh, wow.
I mean, of course, it was very unfortunate. People weren't happy, but they accepted this. They accepted the reality, and they thanked. They said, "Well, still, you helped us, and
Right,
we're
of course.
thankful for this." But of course, it wasn't a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
So now, unfortunately, we need to cut it down even to 50 families. I hope we can grow again to 65, 80, or even more,
Yeah, I
but
hope
we
so
need
too.
funds for this.
Yeah. Now, the funds, where do they come from? Just donations from here locally, or how does that work?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's only from abroad. Unfortunately, the government doesn't give us anything.
Okay.
So we're totally dependent on donations from abroad.
Okay.
The congregations here maybe donate here and there some little
Right.
amounts, but most of them can't donate. So
Yes.
yeah, we really are dependent on donations from abroad.
Okay. Well, we're glad whenever we can help with ministries like this, and so I want to just appeal to you, our First Century partners, that we want to be able to help the distribution center here at King of Kings, and I know that all of you have great big hearts and want to see those other 30 families that used to get help but can't get help now. You want to see them be able to have the assistance that they need in the days going forward. So. God bless you as you pray about how you can seed into that, how you can be a part of that. Certainly we want you to pray for Baruch and for the volunteer team here who do this ministry. But also as you're praying, ask the Lord, what can I do? And I think that you'll find that there'll be a response that's coming into your heart, and we want to just encourage you in that. So thank you so much for your partnership with us at First Century Foundations. When you partner with us, you're also partnering with people like Baruch and so many other ministries that we're involved in, and we just appreciate that so much. God bless you.
Thank you.
First Century Foundations has been making a difference in the lives of some of Israel's most needy for years. And you have been a vital part of this important work. Because of your gifts, we have been able to support the believers in the Holy Land, who every day are sharing the love of God with the elderly, Holocaust survivors, refugees, underprivileged children, and everyone in need from all backgrounds and walks of life. This practical approach of feeding the hungry, clothing the poor, and visiting the sick is making a real difference in many lives throughout the land of Israel. Call or write today and become a monthly partner for just $30 a month or more, and begin to make a real difference in the lives of Israel's most needy. And when you call, be sure to ask for the free Israel Prayer Watch, so you will be up to date on all that is happening with the ministries that you are supporting. We're waiting to hear from you.
What an incredible show today. Going through those tunnels was a lot of fun, but not always, because I'm a pretty tall guy, but if I can make it, I know that you can make it too. I'd love to have you come and visit the city of David. But let's go to the story for a moment. Have you ever had one of those days where it felt like you did everything right, but then everything went wrong? Well, that's kind of what Hezekiah was facing in this time in history. I want to read it to you from the scriptures. Let's look at it together. After all that Hezekiah had so faithfully done, he's done everything right up to this point. After all that he had so faithfully done, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came and invaded Judah. He laid siege to the fortified cities, thinking to conquer them for himself. And when Hezekiah saw that Sennacherib had come and that he intended to wage war against Jerusalem, he consulted with his officials and military staff about blocking off the water from the springs outside the city. And they helped him. They gathered a large group of people who blocked all the springs and the stream that flowed through the land. Why should the kings of Assyria come and find plenty of water, they said. And so this is the biblical context of the story that we basically walked through today. I love it when you can stand on a place where you can almost certainly say this is where the historical moment happened. And when Hezekiah was attacked by the invading king Sennacherib of Assyria, it was a bad day. I mean, he'd been doing everything right. Just like sometimes when you're doing everything right and things seem to go all wrong. And so King Hezekiah got together his military officials, and this drama ensues. You know, the Assyrian kings, they're camped on the far side of the valley, the Kidron Valley, waiting to attack. And Hezekiah said to his officials, why should we let them, come in here and have access to the water? Let's protect the water sources. And so they started at the Gihon Spring, one group, and another group started at the Pool of Siloam, and they began to dig through the mountain together in order that they could have the water come into the city from outside in a protected way. It's a phenomenal story. You need to go and read it for yourself, but I just am so always amazed when we can stand in a place where these things actually happened. And so, I want to invite you to come. I know I say that from week to week, but this is where the Bible took place. You don't just walk where Jesus walked. You walked in places where kings walked. You walk in places where Abraham was, where Melchizedek was, as we talked about last week. And so I want to invite you to come. It's an amazing, amazing experience. And then, of course, we met today on the show Baruch Lieberman, and Baruch is someone who is helping the less fortunate here in the city of Jerusalem. Through the ministries of King of Kings, he is giving leadership to the distribution center. And I love what he said. He said sometimes people come up against circumstances, maybe everything's going right in their world, and then suddenly everything begins to fall apart. They lose a job, they have a health emergency or a family emergency of some kind. And so King of Kings comes alongside of them and helps them with 6 months worth of basic necessities. I think that's just such an incredible ministry. And you can help with ministries like this. You can help with the distribution center and so many other ministries that we work with here in the land. We appreciate your faithful giving. We appreciate when you stand with us. And when you stand with us, you stand with Israel. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you for praying for the peace of Jerusalem. God bless you. We'll see you next time on First Century Foundations.
Thank you for watching. To learn more about this program and the ministries in Israel that we help, or to receive the Israel Prayer Watch, call the number on the screen or visit us online at firstcenturyfoundations.com. And to keep up to date on all that we're doing, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Join Jeff Futers again in Israel next week on First Century Foundations.